Welcome to the March meeting of the Board of Trustees of the University of North Carolina, Chapel. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone here today that North Carolina law and UNC system policy prohibit the willful interruption to service or disruption of an official public meeting. Further, North Carolina law provides there is a Class 2 misdemeanor for any person who refuses to leave an official meeting upon being directed to do so. Pursuant to these authorities, anyone who interrupts, disturbs, or disrupts this meeting will be asked to leave. If they do not leave when asked, they will be removed. They may be subject to arrest. I'll now ask Chris McClure to please call the roll.
Mr. Ballantyne. Here. Mr. Blaine.
Here.
Mr. Bolick.
Here.
Mr. Briner.
Here.
Mr. Bryan.
Here.
Ms. Evans.
Here.
Mr. Everett.
Here.
Dr. Jones. Mr. Kalapa.
Here.
Mr. Codis. Mr. Meekins. Mr. Patel. Mr. Pryor.
Here.
Mr. Turner. Ms. White. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
All members of their duty of the state government ethics act. Conflicts of interest. Appearance of conflict. If you have any conflict or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board today, please identify it at this time. Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Members of the board, we have a number of items on the consent agenda of this meeting, which will be displayed, which are in your board packets and may be displayed on the screen in a minute, but just a quick rundown of those. Approval of the open and closed session meeting minutes from the January 17th meeting, same March 1st special
meeting, ratification of mail ballots, approval of the meeting dates for 2024-25. The University Affairs Committee, approval of the revisions of the UNC Board of Trustees bylaws, approval of the revised faculty salary ranges, School of Law, School of Data Science and Society, Husband School of Journalism and Media, as well as in the Budget and Finance and Infrastructure Committee, deed notice of use restriction for the Cogen facility, demolition grounds maintenance building shop, spending authority, Frank Porter Graham Student Union, Student Stores Mini Clinic, advanced planning spending authority for the Student Union North Roof replacement, designer selection for the campus envelope repairs, New East, New West Playmakers Theater, and Hooker campus roofing replacements, Grand Memorial, Manning Art Studio Labs, Fordham Hall, Bingham facility generation replacement. And having read and having all the materials put up on the screen under the consent agenda, is there any item that needs to be removed for discussion on either part of open or closed session agenda? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve all of these items. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. And now I'm going to give a few remarks, and I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to, as everybody knows, since I've been chair of the board, I've focused on my goal of making Carolina the #1 public university in the world. And along with that, I've talked a great deal about the importance of Franklin Street as the university's front porch and all that we need to do to make the town of Chapel Hill a great partner to the university. And we have two business owners today who I'd like to recognize and have come up and give a few words before we get going on the meeting that embody what it is to be a Tar Heel and a proud business owner in town and on Franklin Street. And as somebody who's lived in Chapel Hill for 20 years, I am a big believer that the integration of the university in the town is essential to the University of North Carolina being the #1 public university in the world. And we've got some work to do there with the town. But I want to introduce first Antonio McBroom, who grew up just down the road in Chatham County and came to Carolina as a Moorhead Scholar in 2004. A math major, he got a job scooping ice cream at the Ben & Jerry's on Franklin Street, was eventually promoted to manager, and ended up buying the business a month before he graduated. He is now a franchise developer with 23 Ben & Jerry's across the Southeast, and recently expanded his portfolio to also include Starbucks. He's been honored by the Chamber of Commerce as the Young Professional of the Year, and we're fortunate to have him here today. Please come up and say a few words about your experience as a Tar Heel and a business owner on Franklin Street.
Thank you so much, John, and thank you to the board for your leadership for this great university. As he said, my name is Antonio McBroom, and I'm a Tar Heel. I am a proud Tar Heel at that. It was actually this month, 20 years ago, that life for me changed. I was admitted to this great university, and I was awarded the Moorhead Kane Scholarship. And I got one of those mothers that didn't leave the decision to me as an 18-year-old. That sealed the deal. And so, you know, I did Outward Bound outdoor leadership the summer before, and then I came up here for orientation to go through the experience of getting ready for college. And I was walking down Franklin Street, and I saw this new brand to me, Ben & Jerry's, right? Because I'm from Goldston, North Carolina, which is deep Chatham, and we don't buy $8 pints of ice cream down in Goldston. So I see this Ben & Jerry's, and I've always been an ice cream connoisseur. It's a treat, right? Ice cream, we've got a saying in my house: a day without dessert is a disaster. And I grew up that way. And so ice cream was a treat. This Ben & Jerry's, and they had a now hiring sign. And I knew I needed a college job. I was leaving my grandmother. We grew up real antiquated lifestyle, and she still had to chop wood. And I wanted to be able to get her gas heat for our home. So I needed a job while I was at college. Started at Ben & Jerry's. And through just my experience with UNC and getting a well-rounded education and doubling down on the principles that this university instilled in me, I've been able to create an extraordinary life. And I'm forever indebted to this university, and I appreciate both the university and the town of Chapel Hill for being this special place. So now I'm privileged to run businesses from Washington, D.C. to Houston and most of the major cities in between. So spend a lot of time on the road, a lot of time in some of the top, developing and high tourist locations here in the Southeast. But Chapel Hill is a special place. And I'll say that as a business leader, that there's not many places that somebody with my background who looks like me can come and do and build a business the way that I did here in Chapel Hill. There was no room that I wasn't invited to. I mean, I think today is a testament, right? And the diversity that's displayed within this university. This is a special place for an entrepreneur, and I advocate for entrepreneurship to students who are here currently. And I'm one of the biggest recruiters for UNC as it stands. So with that said, I'd like to share a little bit about just kind of my vision for my business here in Chapel Hill. So as it was mentioned, I run a kind of multi-unit, multi-brand organization. We call it Mumbo in my industry, where we've got units across the South. We're now expanding into different brands, and we just started with Starbucks. But we're headquartered here in Chapel Hill. And my vision is that as we continue to build partnership with the town and the university, that Chapel Hill becomes a true tourist destination on top of the amazing college experience that we're offering to the students who come. I think that we're uniquely positioned with the developments that's happening down in my home county of Chatham to really seize the moment and just truly become a special place, even more special place than we already are. So I'm grateful that you all allowed me to come and share with you today. Thank you for continuing to support the Franklin Street businesses, and thank you for your leadership in general.
Thank you very much, Antonio. What a great story, and thank you for sharing that with us. And we've got another alum and business owner soon to be on Franklin Street, Elizabeth Sharp, and her husband Brandon, UNC philosophy major turned Michelin star chef. Now ponder that truth. Own and operate two of Chapel Hill's most successful restaurants, Hawthorne and Wood and Bluebird. I have to say, I am biased. I've spent a lot of time in both of those restaurants. I love them both. They've just secured the space on Franklin Street that's the former home of the Ye Old Waffle Shop, which was an institution for a long time. But a third restaurant in their portfolio, Proximio, a tapas and wine bar that will open this fall. Elizabeth is also serving her first term on the Chapel Hill Town Council, and we greatly appreciate her service there. So, Elizabeth, if you would come up and say a few words about your experience as an alum and a business owner on Franklin Street.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Antonio, I think I found the connective tissue here, which is that my first job was also as a scooper at Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah.
So clearly that's how we got invited here this morning. Thank you all so much for having me. I'm really honored to be a representative of our small business community. And I wanted to start with a disclaimer. I really thought long and hard about whether or not it was too dorky to wear my Carolina gear to this meeting this morning, but it's game day and I am not taking any chances. So you guys just have to let this level of dorkiness abide. Second disclaimer, I didn't go to Carolina.
Oh, your husband. That's right. Brandon is right.
Carolina. I am a Californian, raised in the Midwest, and I graduated from UVA. Please don't hold it against me.
That's okay. We deem that a peer institution.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. But I thought by way of contextualizing why someone like me with my background would be as committed and invested in the town of Chapel Hill and the university, I would tell you a little story about my father-in-law, Paul Trevor Sharp, the Honorable Paul Trevor Sharp, who by virtue of his career as a federal judge, I got to have him officiate my swearing in at the town council this past winter, which was really cool. When my father-in-law retired about 10 years at his retirement party, one of his longtime golfing buddies got up in the speech part of his retirement party and gifted my father-in-law a commemorative blanket from his alma mater, not Carolina, Worcester College in Ohio. Then his golfing buddy, who is a bit of a ham, sang a song that he had prepared for the occasion called, wait for it, I Went to Carolina in My Mind. I am hoping that if I play my cards right, if I ever manage to retire a long, long time from now, will have earned an encore performance of I Went to Carolina in My Mind. So I don't have a lot of like by blood family connections to this university or to Chapel Hill, but I'm married into a heck of a lot of them. My father-in-law's father's photo is on the wall out here from when he was the chancellor of UNC in the 60s. The Chapel Hill Historical Society has my in-laws' senior year of high school yearbook from the year that they met as students at Chapel Hill High School. My brother-in-law's Grammy-winning bluegrass band started as students here at Carolina and played their first shows on Franklin Street. My husband did graduate from Carolina in 1997, and everywhere we lived until we moved back here in 2016, we had a framed photo of the intersection of Columbia and Franklin Street. So the writing was literally on the wall that we would move back here. To us, and the reason that we moved back here is because Carolina and Chapel Hill are so inextricably intertwined. Chapel Hill is the university, and the university is Chapel Hill. I haven't been everywhere, but I have been a lot of places, and I have never been to another college town where the line between town and gown is so beautifully permeable, if it exists at all. And to us, Franklin Street is the heart of that, and we really want to be part of making sure that that heartbeat is really strong. We were lucky enough to be here at the Inn this past summer for an event celebrating the businesses that were awarded best ofs by the readers of Chapel Hill magazine. And it was a really special feeling to stand in one of these ballrooms, knowing that we had contributed in a really tangible, concrete way to this town that we love so much. We are excited now, and probably that love is the reason that we have decided to, for our third business venture, plant a flag on Franklin Street. Franklin Street is the connective tissue of this town. We're so grateful that we figured out a way to make this questionable career path as restaurant owners into an agent of change for our town. And I really think that between us as entrepreneurs, you all as representatives and decision makers for the university, and also, that other institution I'm a part of, the town of Chapel Hill, that we can really make cool things happen here. Go Heels.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And what you're doing there with taking what has been a vacant storefront on Franklin Street and turning it into what is obviously going to be a great and successful new restaurant is a tremendous service to the town and everybody that enjoys going out on Franklin Street. So thank you. I next am going to present a resolution here that I'd like to read to everybody for our student body president board member, Chris Everett. And I got to say, we have all enjoyed serving with you, and you have done a fantastic job as student body president. And I really hate to see you go, but this is the appreciation of the board. Whereas Christopher Everett has served as student body president at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and a member of the university's board of trustees for the 2023-24 academic year. And whereas Mr. Everett has represented and thoughtfully advocated for a dynamic student body of over 31,000 students at the university, working for a Carolina for everyone while providing a valued and clear student voice to the board throughout his service. And whereas Mr. Everett has helped promote student wellness and safety on campus, working on a care package event for the Applied Sciences Department after passing of Dr. Yan, and collaborating with the university leadership for a Tar Heel Memorial Framework to memorialize students and faculty in an equitable manner. And whereas Mr. Everett has advocated for diversity, equity, and inclusion, taking part in a DEI town hall, collaborating with the General Alumni Association to create a first-generation student mixer and Black student alumni mixer, and advocating for an Asian American Studies program at the university. And whereas Mr. Everett has worked for financial wellness for students, collaborating with the Office of Scholarship and Student Aid and the Dean of Students to better serve the student population, including supporting the hiring of a financial literacy director and planning a financial literacy symposium for April, as well as working with the OSSA and the Carolina Immersion Fund to help students pay for registered student organizations. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that members of the Board of Trustees of the University of North Carolina thank Christopher Everett and express their deep appreciation for his leadership and devoted service to this board, the university, and the state of North Carolina. And Stacy has a little token of the board's appreciation, Chris. The old well. Okay, Chris, after that standing applause, you now get to deliver your remarks as student body president.
Lots of pressure again today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you all for the resolution, the honor as well. It's been amazing. I really can't believe it's been an entire year, and I'm now speaking before you for the last time in this capacity. It truly has been one of the greatest honors of my life to serve in this capacity. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thinking of my year in review, I want to provide you all with a super brief overview of my administration. Again, my policy platforms fell under my campaign slogan, Carolina for Everyone, and all the efforts that my administration undertook in the past year were in pursuit of uplifting the voices and needs of all students across campus, a job that I pray I did very, very well in the last year. In terms of my personal accomplishments, I'm happy to share that they were a good bunch. From speaking on the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion on an international stage at the National Summit for Equal Opportunity in Higher Education in July, to remembering the legacies of countless Tar Heels who have gone on in the past year and sparking conversation about the processes taken to immortalize these individuals, and to working with the Graduate and Professional Student Government President, Lauren Hawkinson, to create action on the need for improved recreational facilities and working our way toward a wellness center. These are just a few of my personal accomplishments, but they're ones that I'm very, very grateful to have seen through in my term. It has truly been a year when I've led during a SCOTUS decision on affirmative action, an act of gun violence and gun brandishing on campus, the sparking of an international conflict between Israel and Palestine, and a change in university leadership. Each day in this role has posed its own challenges, but if anything, I hope that we as leaders of this campus can continue to remain bold, dedicated, and intentional about how we can effectively advocate for and uplift student voices, needs, and concerns. But of course, I couldn't do this job alone, so I want to thank each member of the Everett administration for their dedication and service throughout the term. And to help recognize some of these efforts, I want to briefly cover a handful of the initiatives undertaken by my cabinet. Beginning with the Department of Academic Affairs and Professional Development, this department was pivotal in working alongside various academic partners across the campus to best equip students with the skills and resources necessary for life during and after Carolina. And just here are a few flyers from just a few events that the department had in the last year, including a career building event, a first-gen student alumni mixer, and an informative panel on studying abroad, which was primarily geared toward transfer students. The Department of Campus Life and Student Experience was dedicated to revitalizing campus culture and creating stronger bonds between the members of the student body. This mission resulted in a dose of positivity, and that was an event where students could write and pick up encouraging notes throughout the day in the pit, as well as Carolina Clearance, which was a pop-up thrift shop that the department did to support the Community Engagement Fund, which is a nonprofit organization working to end the racial wealth gap by supporting over 3,000 members annually in reaching their employment, housing, and finance goals. The Department of Civic Life and Outreach Services, they had a very, very busy year as they've continued advocacy around Student Voting Day and having events such as the Student Government Tailgate. In addition to getting students registered to vote, the department used this event as an opportunity to give away free food, merch, and other goodies. And there was also a collaboration with the Partnership for Public Service called the Public Service Roadshow, which was an opportunity for students to learn about various career opportunities in the federal realm. The Department of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion was also busy, and I'm very, very grateful for each of their efforts. I'm only highlighting two on the slide, including the Diversity Career Fair with University Career Services and the Office of Diversity and Inclusion and the Office of the Provost, and a DEI Town Hall where students were given the space to speak about the need for visibility and support for multicultural organizations on campus. The Department of Environmental Affairs, they've been a really great asset for my administration and the student body at large. Just recently, the department partnered with Strata Clean Energy and the 2024 Clean Tech Summit to host a clean energy case competition. The winners of this competition received a $2,500 cash prize and an opportunity to present their proposals at the 2024 Clean Tech Summit. It was really impressive. We have some really amazing students here. So that was an amazing event, as well as the Sustainable Strut. Huge event each and every year that we've done so far. And so the department collaborated with other campus partners to have an entire fashion show that utilized thrifted and secondhand clothes to talk about environmentalism and where we are with that. So super, really cool things from Environmental Affairs this year. And then lastly, the Department of Student Safety and Wellness. This department was pivotal after the August 28th shooting event. Student Safety and Wellness, alongside the Office of the Undergraduate Vice President, immediately mobilized to survey students on their experiences during the lockdown. And these responses were then turned into safety and advocacy goals that were published on our accounts. The department also worked tirelessly to support the Department of Applied Physical Sciences following the shooting event, both by writing letters of support for the members of the department, and we delivered pizza to the faculty and students. It was a really, really great time to spend some time with them. So those are just a few pieces of the amazing work that my administration was able to complete in the last year, and I hope that they serve as reminders of the importance of empowered student self-governance. It has truly been an honor to lead the executive branch in the last year, so I want to thank each of them again for all of their work, service, and belief in my vision for Carolina. Moving on from my accomplishments, I want to touch on my final pieces of advocacy that I hope will continue being prioritized by the incoming administration, the members of this board, and the folks in this room. First, it is no secret, obviously, that I am a strong advocate for diversity, equity, inclusion. I talked about it in my very, very beginning term on this board. I encourage all of us not be afraid to say the D word for diversity. If anything, I hope that my tenure has shown the value that each person can play when given a seat at the table. Regardless of each of our individual definitions of diversity, I believe our number one priority as a university should be to ensure that all students feel like they belong at Carolina. For this is our greatest responsibility. We also have a responsibility to create an accessible Carolina, one where each student is able to freely navigate our campus and has all the resources to safely and appropriately do so. Addressing this issue and chipping away at the list of ADA improvements will require creative solutions. hard decisions, and many hours of work, but it is worth it as we work toward building a campus that matches the reputation of our name, a campus where each student feels welcomed. On a similar note, I hope to see some continued steps toward our improvement of recreational facilities and student union. This was, again, taken by myself and Lauren in the November meeting, and I know it's something that both she and I hold near and dear to our hearts. This too will require creative thinking, but I want to thank each of the members of this board and the folks in this room for their attention, receptiveness, and continued action on this front. And lastly, I want to address the student, but also global concern that has been on all of our minds in the last few months. Throughout the past few months, my leadership has been tested in ways that I never thought would be possible. But regardless of these tests, I believe I have always tried and hopefully succeeded to lead in a way that is honest, respectful, thorough, and empathetic. Because at the end of the day, I was elected to do one job: to advocate for the needs of over 31,000 students with different beliefs, opinions, and experiences. On some days, that is a very impossible task, but I try, and today is no different. And I want to make this abundantly clear because my character and my integrity are things that I hold very close to my heart. I do not condone, nor am I complicit to any loss of innocent lives throughout this conflict. Our students and communities are hurting, and I want to stress my rejection of violence, hate speech, and anything else that sets out to divide us rather than unite us, both in this world and on this campus. Everyone deserves to feel safe in all parts of their identities and experiences. This is an inalienable truth that I have said many times and will continue to say. And it is my hope that my service, my words, my love for this place, and the people who occupy it have helped us take more steps toward a brighter and safer Carolina. As I close out my term in the coming weeks, it is now my true honor to be able to introduce this board and for the folks in this room, Carolina's next student body president, Jalea Taylor. She can stand up. Say something, Jalea. President-elect Taylor is a junior here at Carolina and currently serves as the undergraduate secretary in my administration. Among her many accomplishments, she is an honors Polk scholar, a Harvey Beach scholar, we share that in common, and the co-founder of UNC's first Black Pre-Law Students Association. She's a Charlotte native, studying political science and government and media and journalism on the @PR track, and I have the utmost confidence that she will serve well. It is my hope and expectation that the university welcomes Jalea with open arms as she transitions into this role. So welcome again, Madam President-elect. We're happy to have you. With that, I want to close out my remarks today with just a few moments of thanks. First, giving all reverence to God for seeing me through a life-changing year in this role. All to Him I owe. I also want to thank my family, my friends, and my presidential partner throughout the year, Lauren Hawkinson. In addition to leading the student body in her role as the graduate and professional student government president, she also just recently defended her doctoral dissertation here at Carolina. So congratulations, Dr. Hawkinson. We are so proud of you. We're so proud of you. And thank you for being here alongside me each step of the way. Your leadership has been palpable. So thank you. To the board, thank you again. I am not agreed with you all on many things about the term, and that's been no secret, but it's truly been an honor to lead and learn alongside you. You each have recognized my contributions to this board. You've pushed me to say more, and you've taught me a lot about building strong and positive relationships in an already polarized world. And lastly, thank you to everyone else and everyone in the room who has supported me in this last year. Of course, former Chancellor Kevin Guskowitz, current interim Chancellor Lee Roberts, Dr. Leah Cox, my other aunties in the crowd, Dr. Johnson, Provost Clemens, Stacy, Julie, Megan. I'm just quite literally grateful for everyone. You've all made such an indelible mark in my life, and for that, I'm truly grateful. So for the last time in this capacity, I'll close out my remarks with this. All that I am or ever will be, I would owe to Him. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And I'm now going to call on Lauren Hawkinson, the Graduate and Professional Student Government President, for her remarks, and congratulations on defending the dissertation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And good morning to everyone. And thank you all for your time this morning and for all of your time over the last year. I share the same sentiments as Chris, as it's truly been an honor to serve as the Graduate and Professional Student Government President this last year.
and advocate for graduate and professional students in front of this board and across campus. I'm so very proud of all that we've been able to accomplish this year. None of it would have been possible without the incredible graduate and professional students that make up the GPSG. You all see me, but there's an incredible team of people behind me that assist with moving graduate and professional students forward here at this university. In particular, I am so grateful to have had Senior Vice President Katie Heath by my side this term. Katie, you can stand up. Is here today. She's a fifth-year biomedical engineering PhD student, and her research involves using medical imaging to improve radiation therapy for cancer patients. Katie previously served as a senator in the GPSG, and I was so pleased when she accepted my invitation to serve as Senior Vice President this year. She has truly gone above and beyond in her work as Senior Vice President, ensuring that new senators were oriented to GPSG, assisting Senate committees with revisions of their policies and procedures, and assisting with a complete overhaul of the GPSG code. Finally, Katie was the driving force behind the creation of our Graduate and Professional Student Bill of Rights, which we will present to Senate on Tuesday, and I hope will benefit students for years to come. I'm thrilled that Katie has been elected as the next president of Graduate and Professional Student Government, and I know her contributions to graduate and professional students and this university have only just begun. So thank you, Katie, and welcome. The GPSG this year has also collaborated on a wide range of advocacy initiatives with groups such as the Grassroots Wellness Committee, the North Carolina Association of Student Governments, and the Climate Crisis Committee. We have helped nearly 100 graduate and professional students travel across the world to present their amazing work that they've done here at Carolina. We know that graduate students often feel forgotten about and siloed on campus. To start to break down these walls, we held 2 separate graduate and professional student wellness festivals, multiple successful graduate student cafes, and over 45 individual town halls. We also have an end of the year PhD, pretty huge dance celebration that is right around the corner. I have also, I've also just been blown away by the positive response from every corner of campus when the call came to improve the graduate student experience here at North Carolina. I cannot wait to see the ongoing progress of the Graduate Student Experience Initiative, and I'm so grateful to Dean Beth Mayer Davis for inviting the graduate professional student government into that partnership and for her continued advocacy and support of graduate students. Moving forward, I just implore this board and everyone in this room to remember the graduate and professional students on this campus. We make up over 1/3 of the student population. We conduct important research and teach undergraduate classes. Most of our work goes underpaid and unnoticed, but we keep going because we want to make Carolina and the world a better place. Please do not forget about our contributions to this university and this state, and please help to ensure that we are represented at tables where decisions about our university are being made. Finally, I would be remiss if I did not mention that March is National Athletic Training Month. Most of you know that I'm an athletic trainer. Athletic trainers are another group of individuals who often go underpaid and unnoticed. However, these healthcare professionals, without these healthcare professionals keeping our student athletes safe and injury-free, we would not be able to enjoy the madness of March. Athletic training is what brought me to Carolina 12 years ago. I could not pass up the opportunity to work with and learn from some of the best athletic trainers in Division I collegiate athletics or the world-class faculty in the exercise and sports science department. I would not be the athletic trainer, the instructor, the researcher, most importantly, the person that I am today without their support and guidance over the last decade. So I ask that you not forget about them and the students that they serve. Don't forget about the cramped recreation facilities. Please don't forget about the flooding in the basement of Fetzer, the exercise and sports science department. But for the quick response of a student employee at Campus Rec, would have destroyed hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment that's used for both scientific research and student athlete evaluations every year. So
Shock, so we've seen it already.
thank you. Thank you. And as I'm moving on from Carolina, I've accepted an assistant professor position in kinesiology at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So that university has built not one, but two gorgeous new student recreation facilities in the last 4 years. So if you're ever in Wisconsin, let me know, and I'm happy to give you inspiration and give you a tour. Go Badgers. I hope you will excuse my Badger red today. And thank you for listening. Thank you so much for seeing graduate and professional students. And even though I'm leaving North Carolina physically, always and forever go Heels. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
For that, Lauren. And before I call on Interim Chancellor Roberts for his remarks, I just want to say, I see two special guests here today with us. One, Board of Governors member John Fraley, who was with us yesterday and still here today. Thank you coming to the meeting, John. Thank you for coming. And I also see the new Dean of the School of Civic Life and Leadership, and you have heard Jed Atkins, some civil back and forth on views that we don't all agree with, but we're here doing it in a civil way. So thank you for joining us today. And with that, I'm going to ask Interim Chancellor Roberts, please go right ahead with your remarks.
Thank you, Chair Pryor. Let me also recognize Representative Ray Pickett, representing Allegheny, Ashe, and Watauga counties. Representative Pickett, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support of the university. We greatly appreciate it. Let me also extend my thanks and congratulations both to Christopher Everett and to Lauren Hawkinson. I'm sorry that we haven't been able to work together for a longer period of time, but I've greatly enjoyed working with you. Look forward to working with Jalea and with Katie, your successors. Christopher told us last night that he's been accepted to Duke Law School. He had already been accepted to Carolina Law School, so we'll continue to try to lobby him, but either way, he won't be too far away. My lobbying efforts were unsuccessful with Lauren to keep her from going back to Wisconsin, but we know she'll do great things there. So thank you both very much again for your commitment to Carolina and for your service to the university. Before I begin my remarks, I just wanted to take note of the protesters in the back of the room here. We had some significant disruption yesterday. We appreciate the peaceful protest today. We certainly understand the desire to be heard. And accordingly, if you'd like to nominate a spokesperson to come to the podium, Chair Pryor has agreed to give you 3 minutes to address the board.
Sure, come on up.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Sylvie. I am a graduate student here, PhD student in the Department of Sociology. You may recognize me from last night. I am a member of Students for Justice in Palestine, which is currently undergoing a genocide. More than 30,000 people have been killed with weapons that the US has supplied them. 69% of the weapons used to kill these people are from the United States. The University of North Carolina has a huge endowment that is invested in companies that profit off of Israeli apartheid and genocide, such as Hewlett-Packard, Caterpillar Construction, Sabra Hummus, just to name a few. We have delivered several times requests, demands for divestment from these companies to no avail, clearly. which is why we're here today. We wouldn't have to be here if you guys didn't ignore us. I think it's a shame that you guys are so willing to dismiss demands that are actually in line with international law. Your investment in the genocide of Palestinian people, because the UN has found this to be a plausible case of genocide, is against international law. And when history delivers justice to the Palestinian people, you all will be complicit, and you all will face prosecution under international law if you do not divest. These are real demands. Palestinian people are human beings, and none of you have done anything to ensure that Palestinian voices on this campus are heard. And this is all just from the heart. I didn't plan to speak, but this is a reflection of what my comrades and peers believe and what we know to be true. And until you act like Palestinians are human beings, which you have not done thus far at all, we will continue to show up. We will not tire. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I do want to say that we are genuinely very disappointed in you guys. Truly. It is a shame. It is a stain on this university's reputation, a stain on humanity, a stain on all of you who happen to be medical physicians, who happen to advocate for diversity with the belly button book, whatever. Palestinian kids have belly buttons too. Palestinian kids are dying under the rubble of houses that have been bombed with weapons that this university is invested in manufacturing. The university took decades to divest from South African apartheid, and it was only through the actions of student groups like this, continually begging boards of directors to divest. So we won't stop until you guys do it. We know you have the capacity. We will not get tired, and we're not afraid of you. Thanks.
Sylvie, thank you very much. And thank you again to all of you for the peaceful protest and for not disrupting the meeting. Thanks to all of you. It's great to be with you again. And I'd like to take the chance to introduce several of our newest team members. James Baraselli, the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Career Development under Student Affairs. Welcome. Wendy Halsey, Associate Vice Chancellor for Facilities Services under Finance and Operations. And I'd like to add my welcome to Chair Pryor's welcome to Jed Atkins, the new Dean of the School of Civic Life and Leadership, who formally starts today. Welcome. We're excited to welcome these leaders. Their expertise in key interest areas for the university is greatly appreciated. Since I joined you last, we have announced 2 undergraduate degree programs in data science. The School of Civic Life and Leadership officially launched a minor. And I know that launch, along with Jed's hire, represent major milestones in our efforts to set up Carolina as a thought leader in productive civic engagement in our country, which we all know is essential to our democracy. We announced a major gift from alumnus and supporter Stephen Israel, a $10 million investment that celebrates and emphasizes the value of a liberal arts education. And we also announced this year's honorary degree recipients, Michelle Dorrance, Dieter Allen Epps, Howard N. Lee, and Richard Y. Stevens, who will be honored at spring commencement. This picture, by the way, is of the men's basketball team having just won the ACC championship, regular season championship. Michelle Dorrance was featured in the incredible award-winning Athletes Are Artists video from Carolina Performing Arts, released last fall, alongside Carolina women's soccer player Sam Meza, who was recently selected in the 2024 National Women's Soccer League draft. In addition to Sam, we actually had the first and second overall picks in that draft with Ali Sentnor and Savvy King. Let's take a moment to watch that video. I think everyone will enjoy it. Indeed, pretty good encapsulation of one of the things that makes Carolina great. There's a terrific video of the making of this video that you can find on YouTube. Also on the athletics front, Arantxa Vázquez Montaño secured her second consecutive NCAA women's diving championship last weekend. A number of us were in Charlotte on Thursday to watch the men's basketball team defeat Wagner, in Charlotte on Saturday to watch the defeat of Michigan State. I was in Columbia on Sunday watching our women's basketball team take on South Carolina, unfortunately not as successfully, but playing the #1 seed, and saw our women's lacrosse team on Monday take on the #1 team in the country, Northwestern, putting up a valiant fight in that effort. And assuming the earth continues rotating on its axis and we're successful this evening, we'll be heading to Los Angeles tomorrow to watch us play on Saturday. And speaking of basketball, I don't plan to show a bunch of videos every time I speak to this group, but we've had a number of excellent ones recently. This is the second of three that we're going to show. And this talks about the national championship from 100 years ago this year, and I think you'll enjoy it.
When I think about the 23-24 Tar Heels, the first name that comes to mind is Jack Cobb. Of course, I'm talking about the 1923-24 Tar Heels, the team that won Carolina's first men's basketball national championship 100 years ago this month. If you've been to the Smith Center, you've probably seen their accomplishments hanging up in the rafters. Jack Cobb, the star player from Durham, was especially elite. He's one of only 8 Tar Heels to have his jersey retired. Cobb and his teammates didn't have numbers on their jerseys, but they still put up big numbers on the court. They were undefeated at 26-0 and scored nearly twice as many points as their opponents did over the season. The Tar Heels beat teams who had become longtime rivals, as well as some who we'd never see on the schedule today. They beat UVA 33-20, then as now a low-scoring game. And they swept Duke that season, but you didn't know it at first glance. This was when the school was still known as Trinity College and wouldn't be renamed as Duke until later that year. Before the Smith Center, Carmichael, and even Warren Gym, the 1923-24 team played in a building known as the Tin Can. It was newly built and in one game hosted more than 3,000 spectators, at the time a record crowd to see a basketball game in Chapel Hill. At the end of the regular season in February 1924, the team headed to Atlanta for the Southern Conference tournament. This was still 3 decades before the ACC would be formed. This was also 3 decades before Carolina was integrated and more than 40 years before the first Black player joined the men's varsity basketball team. On the court in Atlanta, the Heels kept up their winning ways, defeating Alabama 26-18 to win the Southern Conference title. When news of the big win reached Chapel Hill by telegraph, students gathered around the old well to sing Hark the Sound, and then they rushed Franklin Street, but they didn't stop there. A large group of students, including members of the band, marched all the way to Durham to celebrate. There was no NCAA tournament and no media polls in 1924, so it wasn't until 1943, when the Helms Foundation retroactively awarded national championships, that the Tar Heels were recognized as the true national champions for the 1923-24 season. 1924 is still celebrated alongside the 6 and counting national championships that have come since. This was the year that Carolina basketball really took off. A century later, there are no signs of slowing down. Go Heels.
So a fun piece of history that I know we're all hoping to repeat. I'd also like to share some good news about admissions. You see the data here. If you can't read the legend on the bottom, the gray is North Carolina residents, the lighter blue is out-of-state domestic students, and the darker blue is international students. So very strong increase in applications. As you see, almost 68,000 total applications, a 51% increase over the last 5 years. If we go to the next slide, you see that our admissions rate for North Carolina resident students, which last year was just under 40%, is now closer to 35% than it is to 40%. And for domestic non-resident students, an admit rate for 2024 of 6.6%. So we admitted a slightly smaller first-year class as part of the ongoing yield management exercise that admissions has to try to balance every year. I'm not going to walk through every number on here, but as you see, continued very strong applications and commensurately lower admit rates. If we go to the next slide, the transfer applications up very strongly, up almost 67% in the last 5 years. Again, the admit rate coming down as a result. You see the resident and non-resident breakdown. So very impressive growth across the board. I'm not sure if we have one more slide here or not. I don't think so. So happy to answer any questions about the application process. I also wanted to talk about the committees that we announced on Monday and thank everybody in advance for their service on these committees, and including a number of people on this board. So if we go to the next slide here. So the first group is focused on enrollment. As we've discussed before, the state is growing very quickly, very rapidly, diversifying very rapidly. Carolina has not grown significantly. And accordingly, every year, we admit a smaller percentage of North Carolina's graduating high school students. And so this first working group is going to be looking at enrollment as well as revenue development and online learning, chaired by Rachel Feldman. You see the trustees will be serving on this working group. And again, we appreciate their increased commitment of time and talent to the university. The next slide, the campus master plan, as we've discussed, comprehensive need to update our physical master plan for the campus. You see some of the projects that will be focused on, including indeed student fitness and wellness. We've talked about the Porthole Alley project, housing obviously tied to enrollment. This is both new construction and repair and renovation needs, chaired by Vice Chancellor Knuffman. Next slide. While we're discussing the physical master plan, I know that there's been a lot of interest around campus in the developments at NC State. They have a building there, Poe Hall, that has created a significant level of concern among the folks who have worked there. And I just wanted to point out here, since there has been a lot of discussion about it, that our environmental health and safety team has a very thorough PCB management program, just like we do for asbestos and lead paint. When we have a renovation in a building that may have these substances in its materials, we first test for them and abate them as necessary. Kathy Brennan, our executive director of EHS, has done a fantastic job of proactively sharing that information with our faculty and with our staff. Next slide. Artificial intelligence, as we've discussed, we need to ensure that Carolina is a thought leader. This is threefold, both how do we deploy AI to our faculty, students, and staff? How do we use AI in our operations to improve operational efficiencies? And probably most importantly, what are our priorities for research and scholarship? And that will be chaired by both the provost and by Stan Ahalt, our dean of the School of Data Science and Society. And then finally, our working group on applied sciences. There's increasing demand for a number of our differentiated specialties. These include biomedical engineering, environmental engineering, data science.
Order. North Carolina law and UNC system policy prevent the willful interruption, disturbance, or disruption of an official meeting. North Carolina provide pursuant to these authorities, anyone who interrupts
Mr. Chairman, I would ask that our university office would collect information. Just let them go. Chancellor Roberts. Please continue.
Thank you to Derek Kemp and to Chief James. And our fourth working group, as I say, on applied sciences, the four areas of differentiation are biomedical engineering, data science, applied physical science, and environmental engineering. There's tremendous demand for students with these degrees. We have significant strengths in these areas. And so this working group, chaired by the provost and by Penny Gordon Larson, our vice chancellor for research, will be looking at how we might expand on these core strengths. Of course, we'll be continuing to consult with the campus community, including with students. We've asked for these working groups to deliver their recommendations by August 1st. I'm grateful to the trustees for sharing their knowledge and feedback as part of these committees, and extremely grateful for all the committee members who have agreed to add their voice to such valuable conversations. Before I end, I've got a third video, which is the Give UNC event that the Vice Chancellor for Development, Mike Andresen, mentioned yesterday. This took place on Tuesday. Annual event. It was extremely successful. The thrust is to get first-time donors contributing to Carolina, significant undergraduate and graduate student turnout. This is the video that was used to promote the event.
You cheer for Tar Heels on the field. You cheer for Tar Heels on the court. And now, this March 26th, during Give UNC, you can cheer for Tar Heels here. Here. You can cheer here and here. This Give UNC, we're asking you to join us. Cheer for Tar Heels everywhere by making your gift to UNC.
Thank you very much. As I've said before, my door is open both literally and figuratively. I welcome this board's questions, concerns, and advice. Thank you for the opportunity to serve this remarkable institution and our great state.
Thank you so much, Interim Chancellor Roberts, for that. I thoroughly enjoyed all three videos, and I had to ask Trustee Turner if he was familiar with the 1924 championship, which I did not know most of what was in that video. We're fortunate to have someone with us here today who was there on campus then. And Trustee Meekins, what was it? What was it like? I mean, nothing. Okay, with that, I'm going to ask now for Trustee Bullock to please give the report of the Budget, Finance, and Infrastructure Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Pryor. And board members, this report covers items discussed during the Committee on Budget, Finance, and Infrastructure held yesterday. The committee reviewed and approved the minutes of the January 17th, 2024 meeting, as well as one request for deed notice of land use restrictions at the cogeneration facility, the power plant. The committee also considered and approved requests for one demolition approval, two spending authority approvals, one advanced planning spending authority approval, 4 designer selections, and these items were approved minutes ago by the board as part of the consent agenda this morning. Detailed information about each of these requests continues to be available in the software program. The committee also reviewed and discussed the fiscal year 25 all funds budget. Thank you to Vice Chancellor Knupman. And is Steve Agostini here today? He's not here today. I want to thank him. If you would pass on my thanks to him and his work and your team on the all funds budget. It's been a game changer for not only this university, but all the constituent institutions. And that effort was, of course, born here at UNC-Chapel Hill. And we appreciate your leadership on that. We will consider further action on that and take action on the budget at a special meeting to be called by Chair Pryor in April. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much, Trustee Bullock. And I will now recognize Trustee Codis to give the report on the Strategic Initiatives Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Pryor, Board of Trustees members, this report covers items discussed during the meeting of the Committee of Strategic Initiatives yesterday, March 27th. The committee heard a presentation on the Board of Governors Facility Inventory and Utilization Study regarding classroom and lab utilization from Provost Chris Clemens. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much, Trustee Codis. I'll now recognize Trustee Ballantyne to give the report on the External Relations Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Pryor, Board of Trustees members, this report covers items discussed during the meeting of the Committee on External Affairs yesterday, March 27. The committee received a legislative update from Amy McConkey, Director of State Affairs, and Kelly Dockham, Director of Federal Affairs. Next, the committee heard an update from WUNC Paul Hunton, President and General Manager of WUNC. And finally, the committee received a development update from Vice Chancellor for Development, Michael Andresen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much, Trustee Ballantyne. That concludes our open session items. I'll now entertain a motion to go into closed session. Vice Chair Turner.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board convene in closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute Section 143-318.11A1 to prevent the disclosure of privileged or confidential information, and also pursuant to Section 143-318.11A2, A3, A5, A6, A7, and A9.
Thank you. You all have heard the motion. Do I have a second? Thank you, Trustee Snell. Any discussion or debate? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're in closed session.
Showing up at the restaurant, following them out, I did just, I put them in the strongest terms possible.
Okay, we're now going back into open session. I'll recognize trustee Jones for a motion for an open session report on the University of Jersey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Pryor, Board, thank you so much. This is one of the items discussed during the meeting of the hearing on University of Jersey yesterday morning. Open session yesterday, the city considered and approved revised bylaws as well as approved revised faculty salary ranges for the law. School data science of society, medium, decided to approve of the board of public consent. We also heard about the office of the faculty taking up for here. The finalists committee heard on UNC-Chapel Academy, campus community, campus for marketing, especially marketing. And Emily Bornstein, John A. Kate Singh, Saturday School Work of the Children's State Network. In closed session, we discussed request of personnel action items, including
promotions conferring tenure and 5 new appointments conferring tenure. The conferrals of tenure, promotions, and appointments require our vote now.
Final personnel action items, including and 5 new appointments.
Aye.
Meeting on final action was approved by
Thank you, trustee Jones. Personnel matters voted on in session will be made available online after. What the program knows we do make it clear, the UNC policy exists for the safety of our students, and this board will be working with the information to make
Sure that any violations to it will be enforced. That concludes our business today. Without objection, we'll adjourn.